Garmin nuvi 50LM, one of the most basic Garmin GPSs ever made, but also arguably the most readable. And this is why I hang on to this one, because although it has almost no features to it, this is the most watered down of the nuvi line. It's even more watered down than a nuvi 200, the original one, and I'll get to that in a moment. But the thing that this has going for it, ultimate legibility. This is a 5-inch model, but there are 7-inch models that are still not as readable as this one. First of all, the screen is amazing. It has a very nice bright screen. It's very responsive to touch. It is a matte, not a gloss. It has wonderful battery life, especially if you replace the battery and put in a new one. And although some complain that this has a little bit of a cartoony look to it with its user interface, the point is you can read it. For example, if I go to the list of directions here, the directions are huge. If I go to the icons here, the icons very bright, very colorful. Even the time display at the top is amazing. Yeah, nice bright icons, very easy to get around. And the night view, I'll show that. Yep. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Now, ordinarily, let me just go back to the day view here. Yeah. Ordinarily, in the settings, there's a little bit of a hidden menu here called More Data. If I go to Standard, usually looks like this. And this is fine. You get all the map. You get a nice big legible field here that can be configured on the left side. And the right side, this is just the speed. If you tap it, you see this information here, plus a little more down this way. And the speed limit, very legible, very nice. And I showed you this a moment ago. When you tap the top text bar, you get to see all your directions. And if you tap this one, it'll show you the preview of the next turn. But if I go to Settings, Map, and just press down once and change this over to More Data, then you get this stuff. These three on the top are all configurable to any one of these. This one is not configurable. Again, that's the speed that stays the same. And that is how it works. So if I go to Where To, I can search for points of interest, recently found, favorites, intersection. It does have the ability to search coordinates, which is nice. Now I'll get into a few negatives. As readable as this thing is, it's lovely. My biggest complaint about this is there's no way to mass delete favorites in this thing. I'll show you the process of how to delete a favorite. If I go to favorites, if I want to delete this favorite, you'll notice there's no menu around here except at the bottom here, but there's no option to delete. I have to tap, and then I can delete it from here. And unfortunately, they have to all be done individually. So if you had a bunch of favorites listed here, you would have to delete them one by one. That can get a bit tedious. And that's why I said the nuvi 200, the first nuvi, even has more feature set than this one. Certainly doesn't have the screen that this one does, but you know, at least you can mass delete favorites on it. But however, when this thing is navigating, when it's doing its thing, It's absolutely fantastic. You'll notice the colors very nice and bright. Especially, you can really read everything. The font is large. Uh, this has larger fonts even than, well, not larger, but it has more large fonts even compared to the nuvi 56. And I love the nuvi 56, but it's still not as readable as this one. When you want something that is absolutely the most legible out of any that were ever released, it's definitely this one. Now, a couple more negatives about this, but before I get into that, notice how it shows the exit number up here. This was made before they separated the exit number in a line and then the rest of it on the right side here. I just put it all in a single line, which some people actually prefer. So if you like that, this definitely has it. Now let's get to those negatives I was talking about, just a few more of them. First of all, there was never a traffic edition released of the nuvi 30, 40, and 50, and I guess I should mention that the nuvi 40 is identical to the 50. The only difference is that the 40 is a 4.3 inch screen and the 50 is a 5 inch screen. I would not even bother with the nuvi 40. You might as well go for the 5 inch. And is it here? Yeah, under info. You only get the lower 49 states for the United States releases of this particular model. And yes, I am specifically stating United States and not Canada, not Mexico, and not anything overseas in other countries. All you get is the lower 49, and that means it does not have Alaska, it does not have Hawaii. This is only the lower 49, as termed as the contiguous United States. So if you get one of these and you buy it from eBay from a United States seller, this is what you're going to get. It is an LM. Bear in mind there are non-LM versions of this. Don't bother. Just go ahead and get the LM so you get the lower 49. It will support up to a 32 gigabyte micro SD memory card. And the great thing about that is that given the age of this model, even if you had something as slow as a class 4 memory card, this will read it no problem. I mean, they're all class 10 now, which is total overkill for this thing, but who cares? They're cheap. You can get one for something like, what is it, like $8 now? $10 at the most with shipping. The icons, as I've already said, are bright and colorful. Oh, I should mention this too. The vehicle icon on this, it's large. On other models like the 2555 and the DriveSmart 50 and later models, they actually made the vehicle icon smaller. But on this one, it's nice and big. Or what I term as normal. I think this is what it should be for the normal size of this. Oh, I'm glad I just came back here. There is the Junction View. It is not animated, just static images, but yes, the Junction View does exist in this. Again, remember, no traffic, because there was never I already said this, but there was never a traffic edition released of this particular model. But in the end, and yeah, I repeated this several times, but this is the best selling point of this unit. When you want something ultra legible, if the number one priority is just being able to read the thing, 50LM, fantastic. And again, 6 and 7 inch models still struggle to be as readable as this one is. Even 6 inch phones, even tablets, can't get as legible as this unit is, which is amazing. It just goes to show you that with simpler design and bigger fonts, really works nice. This thing just works great. Also, in my experience, if you happen to live in an area that is hot, now it's summer here and where I live in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, This thing can handle the heat pretty well. The only time I ever had one of these things overheat on me was in... Oop, let me just simulate. Sorry. It was recalculating the route there. Oh, and then you get, again, you see the big thing where it says exit 27C. It puts the whole line at the... But that's huge. It's nice. You can really read it. Back to that heat thing. The only time I've ever had one of these things overheat on me is I was in Tampa, Florida. In Tampa. And it was a really, really hot one. That day was in the low 90 degrees. And yeah, I cooked it, but it didn't break it. And when I went to touch it, it was... I mean, this thing was sitting on the dash, not in front of a vent. 90-degree day, and even then it took about a good 20-30 minutes before this thing finally overheated and stopped working. But I let it cool down, and when you know it, it came back on. Didn't kill it. Which can't be said for a lot of other models, but this one can definitely handle the heat. And I guess I'll end on that. The reason it can handle the heat so well: thick case, and when you look at the back of it, if I can get that, there we go. You've got the speaker grill's right there, but it's the thickness that allows this thing to dissipate heat quite nicely. Now I don't want to give you any false hopes here, in that I'm not saying this can totally handle Texas heat, Arizona heat, Florida heat, but it will handle it better than most other models. I should also notice, I should also note concerning the heat specifically, this will not give you a shutdown notice because it's an older model. If it locks up, it's just going to lock up if it overheats. And if it does, it will just stop working. And what you have to do is just take it off the dash or the glass, and just, you got to let it cool down. And that's the way that works. Do I recommend running it that way? Well, no, I don't recommend running any Garmin GPS that way. Don't do that. You should, if you can, put it on a vent mount in front of a vent, and have some air blowing on it, whether it's air conditioned or not, and that will keep the thing running real well. So yeah, I do hang on to these. I have 2 of them. Oh, actually, okay, one more thing. I kind of mentioned this a minute or 2 ago, but I'll mention it again. Because this does not have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, or you update it through Garmin Express, it doesn't have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or traffic or smartphone connectivity or anything like that. With a brand new battery in this thing, even if it was just 800 milliamp hour or 1,000, if you put 1,000 milliamp hour in this, in theory, this thing could run up to 6 hours at 70% brightness on a full charge, which is stellar. That's fantastic. It's got the battery life. And what should I end on? Oh, this is the only one, by the way, out of every GPS I've mentioned, I put on this channel in the past. This is the only one where I can say you could use this on a motorcycle or a bicycle, and it could actually handle the heat. Is it waterproof? No, not at all. So you would have to put this thing in a waterproof it somehow. If you want to know how to do that, there are other YouTube videos that show other people waterproofing GPSs. You would have to do that, but more often than not, if it's not raining outside, you can put this on the handlebar, mount it up, and it's bright enough and good enough. Don't know how reliable it would be in that environment. I've never used it on a bike. I don't own a motorcycle. But the point is, because of the big fonts and everything, it's very readable. That's why it's really good for that kind of use. And yep, I I don't know if I'm ever going to use mine regularly again. I used this a lot when I lived in Florida. Oh, I used this thing a ton. And it never let me down. Like I said, the only time it let me down, and I can't even really fault it for this, is when it overheated one time. One time out of the entirety of ownership. And I think it was actually this one that overheated and came back. And again, I just took it off the dash, and I was able to turn it back on in under 10 minutes. So, yeah. Actually, it wasn't even that long. It was like 3-4 minutes. I just had to get it out of the sun because it was cooking like crazy. Not on its own. It's just the sunlight that was doing it. Is there anything else I can say about this? Not really. Suppose I could show a few other things here. When you go to the address, you actually can put in the postal code in the city, which a lot of people miss. This one has it, which is great. And also you can hop between states. I should mention that too. If you're going to search for something in a different state from where you are, you do have to go here and go to another state. So if, for example, I wanted to do Florida, right, and then I'll just do Tampa. And we'll do, oh, actually, yeah, this is for, oh, can I remember an address in Florida? No, I cannot, but I will do it with the POI thing. Let's do the POI thing instead. We'll do near, different city. It's a little different way of going about it. Okay, Tampa, point, spell, B-U-S-C-H-G, Busch Gardens, which is a theme park. I should have put Disney. I was just thinking of Tampa, that's why. Let me see. Play area. That's not what I want. Oh, there we go. Is it on McKinley? North 30th, I remember. Let me take a look. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. I've been there in years, so. But yeah, that definitely, I can tell just from the map, that definitely is it. But anyway, I could go and save and just go from there. And not much else. Like I said, this is a very basic unit. What you're seeing is basically what you get. The detour doesn't have a detour by road. When you hit detour, it will just guess immediately and do the detour that you want. I mean, there is a help section here, but it's, like I said, it does not get any more basic than this. But that might be what you want. And if it is, if you want a GPS that just does its job, stays out of your way, doesn't nag you, and just, this is the most anti-nag model that I know of. And you got the legibility, you just want it to work and just not think about it. Yep, this is the one to get.